This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Jedley's award-winning children's book, The Great Maratini.
A very long time ago, there was a boy named Sam who liked to do his magic tricks, and he was quite the ham. He was called the Great Maratini, the best magician of his age, but his greatest feat took place far away from any stage. Every trick Sam tried to do would somehow come out wrong, but Sam just kept on going, and that's what made him strong. He was called the Great Maratini, the best magician of his age, but his greatest feat took place far away from any stage. One day as he traveled, he helped a stranger in need, and this was not a trick, oh no, but a magical good deed. He was called the Great Maratini, the best magician of his age, but his greatest feat took place far away from any stage. He was called the Great Maratini, the best magician of his age, but his greatest feat took place far away from any stage.
To get your autographed copy of the giant bilingual edition of The Great Maratini, please visit greatmaratini.com.
Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, bienvenidos, welcome, hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, and iTunes #1 kids and family podcast. How do you listen to podcasts? Are you like me? Do you listen with an app? Well, we have a great guest today. She is the author of a great new book. It's a great new series. It's called the Fayi Fey series. And Fayi Fey is a magical creature that helps kids, and she is summoned by an app. Our guest today is Simisayo Brownstone.
Feyi arrives at the home of the child who called for help, but she arrives upside down in a laundry basket full of dirty clothes. Not again, she mutters. Sometimes the Magic Kazooie app is not very accurate and takes her to unexpected places. In the past, she has mistakenly arrived on the wing of an airplane while it was still in the air. She has also found herself in the belly of a garbage truck filled with rotten food and banana peels. One time, she even landed splat on the back of an elephant during a circus show. Feyi climbs out of the laundry basket, pulls 3 dirty socks off her head, and looks around. She's in someone's bedroom.
We would be so very, very happy if you would visit readingwithyourkids.com/yummy, readingwithyourkids.com/yummy. Go there and find out about the easiest way to snack smart and do good. We're talking about Love with Food. Love with Food helps you discover new, organic, all-natural, and gluten-free snacks delivered directly to your door every single month. And membership starts as low as $7.99 a month. And this is why we love Love with Food so much. Love with Food will donate a portion of the proceeds to help fight childhood hunger in the U.S. and all around the world. Love with Food donates to organizations like Feeding America and the Global Food Banking Network. So join us to help end childhood hunger one meal at a time. Visit readingwithyourkids.com/yummy to say goodbye to boring grocery store selections and to start snacking smart and doing good with Love with Food. Joining us on the line right now from Los Angeles and California, she is the author of a delightful new series called the Fayi Fey series. Please welcome to the show the author, Simisayo. Simi, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited that you are here. Now, I should correct myself. Simisayo is your entire name. I didn't mean to cut it and give you a little nickname. We just met. Maybe after we get to know each other, I can give you a little nicknames. But right now, it's Simisayo. She is here to talk about the Fayi Fey series. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So, this book is something I just came up with when I tried to start writing a children's book. I wanted to write something fun, something that was kind of tied in with what's going on today, in our current world, because I like to write fantasies that are tied to a little bit of reality. Mm-hmm. So I thought, what if there was a way for kids who have like problems or things that they are going through in their daily lives, and what if there was a way that there is an app that could help to solve that? In today's world, there's almost an app for about anything you can imagine. So I thought, hey, why not that, right? So it is a magical app, and when the kids use the app, they get a magical creature that comes to help them out with their problem, and that magical creature is called Fayi Fey. So she comes to help them out with any problem they can imagine. So whether it's, I have a test I need help with, or I need to make new friends, or I'm getting bullied, or whatever the problem is, she comes and she helps them out with the problem. And the great thing is she actually works with them to solve the problem. So it's not like she just waves a magic wand and says, hey, poof, the problem is gone. Like with every kind of issue you have in life, you take it one step at a time. You try to problem solve. So she actually works with them to solve the problem, but in a magical way. Mm-hmm. So they end up having a lot of fun, a magical adventure, and the problem gets solved. So it's kind of a great mix of a little bit of technology, a little bit of fantasy, mm-hmm. and a little bit of Nigerian African culture is woven in there as well to make it an interesting read.
Yeah. Now, this is a book for middle grade kids.
It is like an early middle grade book. So I would say like a intermediate chapter book. Uh-huh. So maybe ages 6 to 10, depending on the reading level of the child.
Yeah, and we don't typically, there are a lot of chapter books, middle grade books do have illustrations. We don't tend to focus on them. I personally love the artwork that is in Fayi Fey. The character is just delightful, and the colors are vibrant, and absolutely can see how it can really grab kids' attention and get kids to want to delve into this book.
Yeah, and I spent a lot of careful time picking her out, making sure she had an inviting look. She giggles a lot in the book. She brings out the fun in the kids, who may start off a little bit apprehensive, but, she kind of brings out that, smile and playfulness out of the kids. So, a lot of time was spent on that to kind of bring that out. It's very colorful. Like you mentioned, a lot of like colorful African prints on it too. Mm-hmm. So, I wanted that to come out.
Yeah, that's wonderful. What has the reaction been from folks who have experienced the Fayi Fey series?
It's been great so far. Like even before it launched, like there were so many people just excited about the concept of it. Just because it's something that you haven't really heard of a lot of before. So it's a brand new concept. It's fun and it's definitely unique. So there's been a lot of great reception from it. So a lot of people, like I said, before the book was even out, there were a lot of people like reaching out and wanting to know a little bit more about it. So I'm very grateful and appreciative of the welcoming, the warm welcome of the book.
Yeah. As you're talking initially, you're talking about, this is magical app and this is how you contact this kind of magical creature to come and help you. And, first it's like, oh, wow, that's a really bizarre concept. But then I'm thinking back to my childhood and it's like, well, when folks needed Batman, what did they do? They shot a big searchlight up into the air and let them know. So it's like, okay, that was technology for that age. And, and I just love this because every kid has a phone in their pocket and they're using technology. And, I'm imagining that they probably are imagining, gee, what else can I do with this phone?
Yeah, because, like I said, I wanted to kind of tie it into the world we live in today, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of technology and stuff like that we have, right? But I think the great thing about it is even though you have to get on the app to call her, you kind of have to put the app down, the phone down, the technology down when she arrives, right? So you're then learning to interact with the real world around you outside of technology in a way. So it's kind of a great thing in that perspective, that you can use your technology to call her, and you can have her there helping you out, but it kind of gives you a break from, the social media and the stuff around technology for a little while. So I'm hoping that, this book encourages people, the kids, to want to read more and enjoy just reading. Cause, sometimes you just need like a fun story to get into reading. I read a lot of like fantasy books when I was growing up, and I remember that feeling I had of, reading those books, and I wanted to share that with kids today.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I love is that you say when Fayi Fey is around, kids have fun, learn to be courageous, and experience a sprinkle of African magic. What kind of African magic and wisdom do kids experience in the series?
So her whole Fayi is actually a Nigerian name, actually. So she uses she has magical words that she uses. I won't give that away, but it's like not abracadabra. So she has a little bit of that going. She uses every now and then like African proverbs to kind of draw out, to encourage kids to have a little bit of courage to, face their problems. And actually the story itself in book number 1 is based on a Nigerian myth. So it's kind of tied around a Nigerian myth that scared me when I was growing up. And so in book 1 of the series, there was a child who's based in London, heard this Nigerian myth and was so scared. And he's like, I can't sleep. Because, I'm scared, of this myth. And so he calls Fayi for help, and they go on a magical adventure to solve the problem.
Wow, wonderful. I love that you're bringing in that Nigerian tradition into modern times, because I really think that there's a lot of wisdom in all those traditional cultures that we're losing a lot of as we're gaining technology. And we're becoming very wise in the ways of technology. We're kind of losing some of our common sense and our common wisdom that's been passed down from age to age. And I definitely think it's needed these days.
Yes, definitely. I feel like it's great to explore different worlds around you. And I think that's one of the beauties of this book, because, in the series, she travels to different countries, right? So in the first book, she went to England, but in the next book, she's going to a different country. So you kind of, subtly, explore different countries in the process. And just, even though the books aren't necessarily about the country itself, it still kind of introduces you to a world that maybe you're not as familiar with. And, just some of the culture and the myths that I grew up, learning and enjoying, just weaving that into it. Even though, like, you may read the book and not even notice that was, something that came from Nigeria, or that was something that was, English or British. You may read it and not even notice that, but, it's like bringing you in just subtly and introducing you to new concepts.
Yeah, very, very cool. I love that. One of the things you said at the beginning of the interview, which differs from a lot of the authors we have on, and a lot of authors come on and say, well, I had this idea, or I told this story to the kids, and I wrote I decided I had this story, I wanted to write the book. You seem to have come at it a different way. You wanted to sit down and write a children's book, and you wanted to include these elements. What was it that led you to want to be a children's author?
Well, I'd always wanted to be an author since I was 10 years old. I don't know why, but I just did. And my mother told me once, she said, one of my children is destined to be a great writer, and one of them is destined to be a great politician, she said. And it looks like I took the writing path, and hopefully I'll be great one day. But she just said it one day, and I was like, interesting. Maybe I'll be the writer. And I just feel like I've just had so many stories inside me that I've been wanting to tell, like just so many. This is just my first, story, but there's so many stories. And I started off just writing a story, and it just so happened that it would be best as a children's book. Uh-huh. So I wanted to write a story. I knew that I wanted some of these elements in it. And as I started to explore the concepts, I thought this would be a great children's book. So, and then it started to develop a little bit more from there. So I think the story itself kind of determined the type of book it was, because I didn't decide whether it was going to be a picture book at first or like a full-blown novel. I just said, okay, now that I've come up with a concept, let's just start writing it and see where it goes. Mm-hmm. And I just wrote it. I handed it over to an editor, and she was so excited about the book. When she read it, she was like, oh my goodness, this is like so different from anything, I've read before. And so it just kind of went from there. When the book was finished, then we're like, okay, this is what it is, and let's go with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And I think a lot of people, and it's a real mistake. They'll look and they go, well, that's a YA book, or that's a middle grade book, and I'm a grown up. What do I have? Why would I want to read a middle grade book? But there are lots of great stories, and it doesn't matter whether it's a picture book or a middle grade book, YA, or a novel that was written for adults. There are a lot of great stories, and we can get a lot out of those stories. So we need to really open our minds up to literature that, on all different levels. One of the things I really encourage folks and families to do is to, obviously we read with our kids when they're young. We put them on our lap and read those pictures books together. And a lot of families, I think they make a mistake. We want our kids to be reading independently, and that's great. We celebrate that. But I don't think that that's the time to stop reading with our kids. We can change it up, and we can read books together, maybe co-read, and then talk about it on our way to the dance studio or to karate practice or soccer practice or to school. What kind of conversations do you think families can have if they're co-reading the Fayi Fey series together?
So, at the back of the book, actually, there's a bunch of discussion questions. So I think it kind of goes to what you're saying. I really wanted it to be a book where you can read with your friends or your parents or stuff like that. And actually, a lot of adults that have read the book, really enjoyed it, even though they weren't expecting to, because it was a children's book. Mm-hmm. But to your point, they really enjoyed it. I think the one thing that, people can, get out of or talk about with this book is really, how to solve the problem without having a magical creature there, right? Mm-hmm. So there was a problem. She called a magical creature, but, the problem is kind of like a real life problem. This could have happened, in today's world. It was actually, this story actually was inspired by, this particular problem was inspired by my 5-year-old daughter, right? So, she couldn't sleep because she'd imagined she was dreaming that dinosaurs were chasing her. So I was like, oh, okay. So I think the key thing, like what you can discuss here are, what are the ways that you can kind of solve this problem, without having a magical creature, like bringing it back to reality. Mm-hmm. And talking about, okay, so what are the steps you would take? A lot of times, in the book, she'd say, hey, let's go ask a question. It's kind of like, that investigation kind of thing. Let's go ask a question. Let's go find out what's going on there. So I think that's really the key thing. And it's really all about, like having that courage. Mm-hmm. And just exploring that in your current, life. So, how do you solve the problem? And what are some of the other things that can be going on that could cause people to be scared or to be frightful? This particular book is, about, a child who can sleep and stuff. So one of the questions at the back of the book is, what are some other reasons why people might not be able to sleep at night? So there are some pieces there that are good discussion points to have with kids, after reading the book.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you were talking, one of the things, and when I'm doing my educational magic shows and we're dealing with the issue of bullying, one of the things that I've come to realize is that if we're going to deal with this issue of bullying, we need to really inspire the kids in the middle, the kids who aren't being bullies and the kids who aren't being targeted, to stand up and say something and help out when they see it happening. And I'm thinking, how cool would it be talking to your kids about, whoa, if you see somebody else and they can't call up Fayi Fey on their app, maybe you could play the role of Fayi Fey, and how could you help that person?
Exactly. So it could even just like that, right? So those are things that you could have a conversation with, because like I mentioned, even though there is a magical element, she's still actually working through with them, in a practical way, right? So it might be in that situation, go talk to the person or stand up, speak out or things like that. So I think that's definitely a great point.
Yeah. Well, I'm right now, as I'm looking at you, and I'm also looking at your website, and I definitely want folks to check out the website. Tell people the address so they can go and check out all things Fayi Fey.
So the website is feyifey.com. So FEYIFAY.com. You can go on there. There's links to the book, a cute little video trailer I made for it. And, there's also accessories, Fayi Fey accessories that you can find on the website. I felt like, we talked about in the beginning of the interview, like she's very inviting and very colorful and things like that. And so, I got a lot of great feedback from people on, creating accessories that kind of featured the character. So there's a bunch of accessories there. And there's also a section about giving back, right? So I wanted to not just write a book and just be done, with it, but I did want to find, even in the smallest ways to give back. So about every quarter or so, I do giveaways where I give away, a couple books to winners. And I ask the winners to select an elementary school, and I donate books to the school's library. So it could be a school that they feel maybe doesn't have the resources, or maybe a school they just feel would be great to have more diverse books in their library, whatever kind of, school they choose, right? And so I'll donate books to their library to as a little way to give back. And I'm doing the same for a few schools in Nigeria later on this year so the more people buy, the more I'm able to kind of give out the books. But that's kind of my little way of, giving back.
Yeah. And what a great thing. It's wonderful to know that we can affect and change lives all around the world, here in our own homes, and work together to affect the lives of people on the other side of the planet. And I think it all comes back to us. And I think it really empowers our kids when we know we give them the opportunities to do that. So, excellent. I love the website. I love the series, and I've loved speaking to you. I want to encourage everybody to check out the Fayi Fey series, available at Amazon and Kobo and Barnes & Noble. Am I right about that?
Barnes & Noble is on its way, so It's not yet up on Barnes & Noble, but it will be soon. So right now it's on Amazon and it's on Kobo, ebook available on Kobo. So, but Barnes & Noble will be there soon.
Excellent. Well, the name of the book is Fayi Fey, and we've been talking tonight to the author, Simisayo Brownstone. I want to thank you. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Laura Gale. She's the author of a delightful book called Delivery Bear. Hey, would you be interested in having an award-winning author visit your classroom, if you're a teacher, or your kid's classroom, if you're a parent and have a great relationship with your teachers. If you are, then please be sure to check out my website, jedley.com, or the readingwithyourkids.com website, because I am offering free Skype visits, free author visits via Skype to your classrooms all around the world, literally all around the world. That is the magic of Skype. It's a great way for me to let your kids know a little bit about my book, to remind them, inspire them to be caring and helpful, reminding them that when they help others feel love, that they help others do amazing, magical things. I'm also going to be doing a little bit of magic through the magic of Skype. This is a brand new initiative for us, and for a limited time, it is absolutely free. Absolutely free. Just get in touch with us. Go to the readingwithyourkids.com website, click on the contact button, let us know that you are interested in having Jedley, that's me, an award-winning author and the host of the Reading with Your Kids podcast, visit your classroom or your kid's classroom via Skype. Hey, we want to thank Simisayo Brownstone for being here today, and of course we want to thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for connecting with us on Facebook, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids. Thanks for connecting with us on Twitter @JedleyMagic. And thanks for connecting with us on Instagram @MagicJedley, just to keep you on your toes. And of course, we would love to receive your emails. Readingwithyourkids.com. We have a contact button there. It's really easy to be in touch with us. Oh, and I almost forgot. Thank you so much for taking the time to read with your kids. I'll be looking for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.